Phil Mickelson is ninth on the PGA Tour's all-time win list, and among those ahead of him, only Tiger Woods was born after 1940. In other words, he's lifted a lot of trophies in his day. Of all his victories, none is sweeter than his triumph at the 2004 Masters. I mean, take us through the first few days of the championship. You know, how was your game going into Augusta National that week?
I had won the Bob Hope that year. I had had a number of top tens on the West Coast, and starting the year, my game was feeling terrific, and I really started driving the ball well that week. I ended up hitting these hard cuts and hit a lot of fades all week long. And the only time I would try to draw it was on 15, and that was the one time I hit bad drives. But when I would just hit this little cut shot, I hit the ball extremely straight and was able to play from the fairway and use that newfound precision with the short irons to my advantage. This was before the golf course had been elongated, so I hit a lot of short irons in the par fours and was able to make a lot of birdies.
Well, you were 3 back on Sunday with 7 holes to play. Did you still have that confidence?
The way I saw it was 12 was the critical hole, because Ernie was a few holes in front of me. If I birdie 12, I'm most likely going to birdie 13, because it's a hole I play very well, and I'm going to have a 6 or 7 iron in. So I'll only be 1 back with 5 to go. The critical one was 12. And I hit this little, what I call a Pels 8 iron, took a little bit off of Pels. I started at the pin. It fell just a fraction to the left, about 15 feet behind the hole. The 2 years prior, I'd had the same putt. One time I missed it high, one time I missed it low. I knew it was kind of destiny to knock this one in. The key to that putt is to not try to force it in, but let it die and take the break at the very end. When that putt went down, that's when I knew that this was going to happen, because I played 13 well, which I did. I hit a good drive, and 7 I made birdie. Now I'm only 1 back with 5 to go, and I just knew I was going to do it.
Who goes into the Masters final round knowing that they're going to win?
I just told you I did.
I thought you did, yeah. Sorry, okay, I'm glad you pointed that out for me. Yeah. Well, you were really close with your granddad, right?
Yeah.
And he was pretty prophetic the last time that you got to talk to him.
My grandfather, Al Santos, I would give many of the flags that I won tournaments from. We'd get them off of 18, and he kept saying, I don't want any more of these regular tour events. I want a major. Like, gosh, I am trying, man. I mean, it's not easy. So that Christmas, we knew that the end was near. So we have this wonderful family gathering with him, and he says to me, this is the year you're going to win the Masters. I said, all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
I like that. He passes away in January. I'm on the green on 18. Chris DeMarco is 6 inches behind my ball, and he puts it down there, and you could tell it just leaks a little bit low, catches the lip, and misses. And I've got the read. I'm trying to play a little bit more break, and darn it if my ball isn't on the same line. And I knew that I missed it low. It catches the left lip. It rings around the cup and goes in.
I remember.
And my immediate thought, as I'm so high off the ground, okay, as I'm floating, was he nudged it in. That was the first thing I thought of, was that he nudged that thing over. He had to. It had no other way of getting in.
What stands out about your victory at the Masters in 2006?
I've always been kind of a lightning rod in the sense that everything that I really do well, it's like, oh my goodness, it's overblown, how great it is. And everything I do poorly, it's overblown, oh, this is just catastrophic. And I put 2 drivers in play that week. What is this guy doing?
Exactly.
And I called him a fade and a draw driver, and in reality, that's not exactly the case. The draw driver was actually a longer driver. It was an inch and a half longer. The reason I called it a draw driver was because I couldn't really hit good fades with it. I could only try to hit draws with it. And I hit it 25 yards longer than I did my other driver. So when I needed control, when I wanted to hit that cut around 13, when I wanted to hit that cut around 10, or get it in the fairway on 17 or 14, I would hit this other driver.
Was one more lofted than the other as well?
The longer one had less loft, because when you get a longer shaft, your angle of attack at an inch is usually about 2 degrees shallower or more upright.
See, the fact that you know that astounds me.
So I ended up going to a degree less loft to keep the launch down and the spin rate down, and was able to, I was timing it so good that final round that I ended up hitting it on holes like 14 and 17 when I normally would hit the other one, because I was hitting it so well I just didn't want to change. And I drove it phenomenal that week, and ended up winning. That was the nicest thing about that, was having a 3-shot lead going up last hole, not having to birdie it, because I was able to take it in. I was able to enjoy the fact that I knew I was going to win and appreciate the crowd, and that walk is still in my head about how fun and special that was.
Is there a difference in the knowledge that you're going to win when you're 3 shots in front and the knowledge that you're going to win when you're 3 shots behind? Because you knew that you were going to win both times.
That's true, but I really knew I was going to win with the 3-shot advantage, right? So
Yeah.
there might be different levels of knowing.
Walking into that canyon at the 18th with the big yellow scoreboard up there and just those tens of thousands of people with the clubhouse, you know, backing it up, it's got to be such a special feeling knowing that you're going to win.
It's the best. There's no better feeling because I had a multiple shot lead. I knew that if I made par on 18, I would win, as difficult as the holes were playing coming in. And here I am on the green 15 feet from the hole. I knew that I had it won.
There's something magical about the Open Championship. I mean, I know you've won the Masters 3 times, you just won the PGA Championship. How would you grade them?
The 2004 Masters will always be my most important, as it's my first major.
Yeah.
And winning the Masters as an American puts you in that history. But the greatest accomplishment in my career is winning the Open because my game was never suited to that. I liked hitting it high with a spin. I would go out and play, and I didn't care where the pin was. I was trying to back it up 60 feet because I thought that was cool. A lot of times I'd come off the green and I'd make bogeys, but I didn't care. I just wanted to watch that ball sauce. That was the coolest
The
thing.
crowd pleaser.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I ended up not really having the game for it, and when I came out on tour, I wasn't suited to play links golf.
And the champion golfer of the year is Phil Mickelson.
To ultimately win that tournament is the greatest feeling of accomplishment for me because I learned and became successful at a totally different style of play than what I had grown up playing.
What's your favorite Ryder Cup story that maybe we're not aware of?
So I've had some great partners over the years, and one of my favorite people that I've played with is David Toms, and we've had a lot of fun together. We played together at the Belfry in 2002. We were partners, and we were playing alternate shot together.
Very narrow in the driving area here.
We're 2 up with 3 holes to go, and we get to this par 4, the 16th hole, and I've got to hit the drive, and it's a 14-yard wide fairway.
And that's perfect.
I hit the most majestic 3-wood for me in the fairway, okay? And he's got a 9-iron in, and this hole has kind of a boomerang green that wraps from right to left around this bunker. And the green has a tier in it to the right of the bunker, so you can hit it at the pin or 50 feet right of the pin, and it will hit the green and funnel right down by the hole. And David Toms is one of the best iron players in the game. He's got a 9-iron. There's no way this shot's going to be outside of 12 or 15 feet.
Still around, it looked like, down the bunker.
And he fat blocks it into the lip of the bunker. It is so uncharacteristic, but it's in the lip of the bunker, and now I have to hit this shot left-handed. I have to aim 60 feet to the right of the hole. I take out a 9-iron to open the face, hit it, and it shoots out sideways, catches the slope, and rolls down 4 feet from the cup. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I walk off to the side of the green. I just hit 2 of the best shots I've ever hit. The 3-wood in the fairway, which let's not underestimate how good that is for me. And then the 9-iron out of this bunker to 4 feet. I'm standing over there with Bones, and David calls me over for the read. He says, "Hey, Phil, come here, take a look." So I stand behind him, and he kind of shouts over his shoulder, what do you think? I said, "What do I think?" I said, "Don't this one up too." And walked off to the green. And to his credit, he knocked it right in, and after a chuckle that we had, we ended up winning the match 2-1.
I think most people don't really understand the nature of your relationship with Tiger. How would you describe it?
I've always thought it's really great because I'm so appreciative of what he's done for the game, but in that, he's done as much for me or more than anybody else.
Oh, for all of us?
Because we're all in this together. Okay, we all make our living in golf, whether it's members of the media, whether it's players, whether it's caddies, anybody, we all want to build up this product, and nobody built up the game more than he did. When I came out on tour in summer of 1992, or when I won the Tucson Open, the purse was $1 million. The entire purse, first place $180,000. And I remember thinking mid-90s, I wonder if someday we'll play for $1 million first place check. I don't know, probably not in my lifetime, but I hope we do. And here we are every week, $1 million plus first place check. And that's due to Tiger. So now we have these purses that have gone way up. We have TV revenue and exposure. We have more medias covering it, which creates more value for corporate America. And all these opportunities drove up my revenue and every other player's revenue on the golf course and off the golf course. So I'm always appreciative of him. I've told him that many times. I don't know if he thinks I'm sincere or not, because sometimes I can be a bit sarcastic, but I try to say it as sincere because I genuinely mean that and feel that. And we'll always look at him with appreciation. And in the last probably 4 or 5 years, through the President's Cup, Ryder Cup partnerships that we've created to help bring out some of the best golf in the U.S., we've really worked well together. And I've developed a whole new respect for his mind and how detail-oriented he is, especially in this last Ryder Cup. He was extremely instrumental in putting every player in a position to succeed.
You hit one of the greatest shots that I ever saw on the 13th. From the pine straw in between the trees.
It was the percentage play.
The percentage.
The percentage play. Now,
you always loved a gamble.
Let me explain how it's the percentage play. Internally, you have a shot dispersion. So very few people hit every shot right at the pin. For me, a left-handed player, if I pull it, it's going to go longer right. And if I push it, it's going to go shorter left. Well, the green sits like this. So if I aim at the center of the green and I come out of it, it goes short left, it's still on the green. And if I pull it, and I normally don't ever admit this, but I might have pulled that one fractionally, it goes longer right and ends up carrying the creek in this situation.
Right.
Also, when you're in pine needles, the more loft you have, the more opportunity for stuff to get between the ball and the face, shoot sideways, and potentially hit the tree. So the straighter faced club I can hit gets more coverage on the ball and reduces the ability of stuff to get in between the ball and the face. So I had to go between that gap. I couldn't go left of the trees or right of the trees. I had to go between them. So hitting a wedge was a greater risk than hitting a 6-iron. And the green sets up so perfectly that I had a huge shot dispersion.
Margin of error.
And so that was the high percentage play.
You've always thought that way, very analytical.
There's a lot that I process on every shot, and there's a lot of detail. Do you want me to touch on it, or do you really, is it boring?
Hey, tell me about it.
Well, in my practice, I build a reference. So I hit the same shot over and over, building a 9-iron that goes 145 yards, let's say. Now, that will vary based on temperature and altitude, and which will change with time of day and whatnot, as well as wind and those effects. But one of the things people will say is I hit my wedge, 120. Well, you might hit a 120 under certain conditions, but in the morning, ball's not going to go 120. Maybe in the afternoon when it's warmer and the ball heats up, but it's going to go 5 to 10 yards shorter in the morning. People don't factor that in. If you get a little bit of water in between the club face and the ball, people don't know, it actually increases spin, causes it to go shorter. The first cut always comes out 6 to 8 yards dead. If the grain is into you, it's going to launch and hit lower on the face, launch lower, have more spin. If it's down grain, the club slides a little bit quicker, you'll get more out of it. If it's sitting up on zoysia or off of a tee, always goes 5 yards farther with each iron, based on the fact that the center of gravity is underneath the ball and it launches higher, a little bit less spin. All these things I have to factor in when I look at the lie. Okay, how is the lie and how is the ball going to come out relative to my 145 9-iron? Now, that's 10 off a stock, so I have a normal swing.
Right.
And then I have a second swing for every iron shot. And it's a little bit shorter backswing with the same acceleration. So I have a 145 and a 155-yard shot. What is the lie going to do? What's the temperature? What's the wind? How do I want the ball coming into the green? If you choke down an inch, 3 yards comes off of it. 1 degree aloft is 3 yards. So if you open the face a degree, that's 3 yards. So if I have a reference of 145, I want it to fly 142, I can choke down an inch. It'll come in a little bit lower, a little bit flatter, and release. Or I can just open it up and hit a little bit of a cut. That'll be 3 yards, but it'll back up. All these variables, I'll process like that when I look at the lie and assess the situation, see what kind of grass it is. And those are the nuances that allow me to be so precise with my wedges and my short irons and my distance control.
Right.
And that's why iron play has been such a strength for my game, is that I'm able to be precise to within a yard or two. And in my practice sessions, because I hit 1,500 balls every month to those specific numbers, my reference is pretty on. If I hit a shot 145 and I feel like I nailed it, it usually
That's where it goes.
that, yeah.
2006, you come into Wingfoot with 2 straight majors. You know, do we even want to mention it, or you know, should we skip it?
No, look, you have to take the good with the bad. I mean, I think that I've always used failure as a motivator for success because it gets me so fired up to go work harder. And Wingfoot was a motivator for me to go work harder. I think if I'm in that position again, I believe I'll come through. But a lot of people look at the drive on 18 as being the problem. That wasn't the problem because I had only hit 2 fairways all day. So you do the math. The odds of me hitting the next one is very, very low. But where I made the mistake was I had a good lie. And all I had to do, my short game in the history of my career was the best that week. I hit some shots. I hit an up and down lob shot on 10 I still think about. The pin was front right. I had a 64-degree wedge for 1 month. And I got pretty good with it, and that week it really shined. It was my best performance. All I had to do was get that 3-iron up by the green. I had a perfectly tight lie to cut that 3-iron around, and I pushed it a fraction into the edge of the limbs. If I had given myself just a little bit more room, the ball's going to either be on the green or right around it, and my percentage of up and down was the best it's been in my entire career that week. I would have gotten it up and down, I believe, to have won. So it was the 3-iron second shot that where I messed up.
Well, it's not like he doesn't disagree with you either. I mean, he gets 1 veto a year. How did he negotiate that? Was there congressional approval involved, or?
So he found out early on that I'll do some stupid stuff, right? It's how I roll. Sometimes the math adds up in my mind, but doesn't really add up. And I'll do some crazy stuff, and I ended up giving him a veto. And the one, I remember one time he used the veto, we're in New Orleans, it's after the Masters, we have 3 majors upcoming. I get to the 9th hole at English Turn, I'm short of the lake, the pin's on the front, and I'm in the rough, but I have a pretty good lie, and I'm thinking, okay, if I can double skip this off the water, it's going to hit into the bank and bounce up on the green. I think 3 is still in play. And he says, oh, no, dude, I'm using my veto. I said, no, I really think 3's in play here. I don't like this veto here. I think you should wait for the majors. He said, no, I'm using it. So I wedged down, I hit 9-iron, whatever, down the fairway, 40 yards away. I ended up hitting it on and making par, whatever. But it worked. Now, the one time I did override him was in the 02
Well, so you get
Open.
a veto every now and then?
Well, that's the thing. In 02, we were at the Open Championship at Muirfield when the year Ernie Els won.
When did you find out about the cancer diagnosis?
It was May of 2009. That was, it's one thing you would much rather go through it yourself than to see somebody you care about go through something like that. And I'll never forget you wearing pink at Colonial. I'll never forget Vijay Singh wearing pink at Colonial and so many people wearing pink there. Whether you believe in prayer or whether you believe in energy or whatever, you feel that positive energy.
Well, it was only, a month or so later that your mom, Mary, was diagnosed with cancer also?
Yeah, a couple months later, she ended up getting the same thing, and both of them are doing really well. And so many women, a couple 100,000 women every year get diagnosed with breast cancer, and it's awful because even though the success rate of treatment is very high, it's still brutal. It's a brutal treatment to go through, and I just really feel for the people and the families that go through that.